Good evening. It is Thursday, June 4th. My name is Carla Hartley, and I am going to be talking to you tonight about, as the court is doing its phased reopening and considering ways that they're going to be doing things going forward. So are we. We had a meeting today that I think is sort of emblematic of what we're looking at in the future, with just not how we're going to do things in the future, but how this has changed things for us. We had all of our attorneys and all of our paralegals in the office today. Everybody was in their own office, and we had a meeting on video conference. So all of us dialed in, or we didn't dial in, that's a very old term, clicked in from our respective offices within our bigger office and attended this meeting from the comfort of our own desks. It perhaps was not as much fun as our old meetings were, where we could be in the same room and kind of joke and tease each other a little bit, but we did the work for the clients, and we've been doing this. We've been having these meetings at 1:30 every day for the past couple of months. We've been doing it remotely. Today we did it with everyone in the office, which seems on its surface a little bit deranged, but when you have to keep the social distancing and you want to make sure that your more vulnerable people are being kept safe, and that you want to make sure you can stay in business and comply with all of the guidelines that the County of Ventura and the State of California are giving us, this makes sense. So going forward, we instituted the discussion today based on pretty much a fourfold analysis and a hot wash that we want to have from every single one of our employees, which starts with, what were we doing before the pandemic, before this closure, that we had to stop doing completely during the closure, or pretty much taper off, that we don't want to resume. I think that's going to lead to some staffing changes. And I think it's going to, some of the stuff we discussed today that we're still bandying about as ideas, we haven't made decisions yet, I think that is going to lead to a much more efficient delivery of services. The second category that we're looking at is, what did we never or very seldom do before the court closure that we had to spike on during the pandemic that we want to keep and continue to do? And that, I think, for me, is video conferencing. I have never really liked just talking to people on the telephone. I prefer to meet with them face-to-face or send them a memo. Phone conferences, without being able to see people or be really clear, there's so much, in my opinion, that can be misunderstood, that people have different takeaways from a phone conference. A video conference is more human. You're face-to-face, yet you're not inconveniencing the client by making them come all the way to your office to hash something out or figure out where you're headed. So I'm really liking the video conferencing. I know that that we're going to be continuing with that going forward. There are other things that we discussed. I'm not saying that we're going to stop meeting clients in the office. We definitely want to resume that. But I think for the clients who don't have time to get in, who just need 10 or 15 minutes of FaceTime, we can now do that, and thanks to the software that we're using, GoToMeeting, we can do that with software that's not just going to protect our clients' privilege, but it's going to protect our duty of confidentiality, and I'm really pleased with that. The third point of analysis is, what were we doing before the pandemic and the court closure and the shutdown of our society that kind of bottomed out a little bit, but that we want to resume. Okay, everything we were doing before the pandemic was not bad. We were doing some really, really good stuff, and we were doing very good work, and we're going to continue to do that good work. We did good work. I'm amazed at the output and the responsiveness and the work ethic of our staff while the closure was in place. But I also recognize going down to a skeleton crew meant some things didn't get done, and some things didn't get done as well as they should have been done, because we had very few people doing everything. I spent 2 days in the file room just filing. So there are things that we did before that we did very well. I've always been very proud of our filing and document categorization system, and we're going to stick with that. We may tweak it a little bit, but we're sticking with it. And then the last thing is, what stuff were we doing just a little bit of before the court closure and the pandemic, and that kind of peaked, that we don't want to keep it quite that high level, but we do want to retain a little bit of it. So these 4 areas of analysis are going to have us looking at everything. They're going to have us looking at, how documents come in, because we've changed the way documents come in, how documents get uploaded to our clients, how we communicate with our clients, how we communicate with each other. And to top it all off, we're waiting to see what the court says about court appearances. I know the criminal courtrooms are having remote appearances for some things, or they were. And I also know that there are some difficulties with the criminal courts doing that. The right to confront your accuser is one that comes really to mind. We don't necessarily have that problem in family law. We also have the family law floor, which is full of people at any given point in time when the courts are open. So I'm waiting to see if the courts are going to have us start working on remote trials. And in keeping with that, we have already scheduled ourselves for a bunch of continuing legal education classes on how to effectively conduct a trial via remote. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. Nobody's going to be bored. But I'll tell you what, we're going to do a good job. I hope you have a good night. Bye-bye.